Food prices are skyrocketing around the world. And if you listen to world leaders, they'll tell you it's due to climate change.
Climate change is the biggest threat for the human beings.
And their solution might surprise you.
There are 1,900 edible insect species on the planet.
The European Commission has officially declared mealworms to be food.
Yes, this is future of food.
The people in charge have determined that by switching our diets to crickets, ants, and mealworms, we'll be able to stop temperatures from rising, lower the price of food, and possibly to even save the planet.
It's never about innovation, it's always about getting rid of farmers.
Agenda 21 was meant to be the agenda for the 21st century. Some of the goals sound nice. Ending hunger. Who could possibly be against ending hunger? It requires total power from the state.
I think it's a scam. A lot of this came about in the early 70s, the Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, which were good things, but it's been abused from what the original intent is.
No, maybe not this one.
It's not a farm anymore. No, there's also not a farm anymore.
So all these people shut down because of the government policies?
Yeah.
I'm the 6th generation of farmer.
Yeah, I'm the 4th generation.
How many years have they owned this plot of land?
40 years.
I think we're the last generation.
They're shutting down the small and middle-sized family-run farms.
We either own property or we are property.
I don't think we can trust the government anymore because they want the land.
And our founding fathers understood that the land would be distributed among the people so they could always control their government.
Right now, things have tripled as far as costs. I think you're going to see across the board higher food prices.
Has anybody been held accountable for screwing up? No.
As every communist tyrant of the last 100 years has understood, if you control the food, you control the people.
Everything is falling apart. There is a shortage of food.
We're heading for a world food crisis, as we hear all the time.
Do you see any hope for the situation?
Yeah, we have to continue fighting for it. No farmers, no food. They will know it.
Welcome everyone, I'm Chris from the Epoch Times. I'm here in Dallas, Texas for the Stop 30 by 30 Summit, and we're here at the red carpet premiere of No Farmers, No Food, Will You Eat the Bugs? We're going to go behind the scenes and talk to all the different people who made this film possible. We're going to talk about how this groundbreaking documentary was pieced together, and we're also going to do some interviews of the people involved. Now, if you subscribe to the Epoch Times, you'll be able to watch No Farmers, No Food, Will You Eat the Bugs on September 25th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're not yet a subscriber, go ahead and scan this QR code right here, click the link, and you'll be able to access No Farmers, No Food by subscribing to the Epoch Times. No Farmers, No Food, Will You Eat the Bugs is the first documentary to explore how the UN's 2030 agenda is putting farmers out of business and how these global green policies are disrupting the food supply. We're also investigating how the global green solution is to eat the bugs. This is a topic that's being ignored by the world's media. We went around the world to investigate how this is taking shape and how the next global food crisis is coming about. So Commissioner, thank you so much for being here for the screening. And I want to ask you, will you eat the bugs?
No, I'm not going to eat bugs. I'm out. I'm kind of a ribeye, medium rare guy.
So why is that?
Well, I mean, that's you know, God created us as carnivores, and we're supposed to eat meat. Our eyes in the front of our head, so we're hunters and gatherers. So I'm going to stick with the traditional meat.
So a lot of changes have been going on. A lot of things are hurting farmers right now. In the documentary, we explore multiple facets of the issue, whether it's land grabs or alternatives to beef, like we just talked about. Why do you think this is going on, and why do you think people should watch this documentary to find out more?
Well, I think it's a globalist agenda. It's happening in Europe. They're much further along than we are. Just look what went on in the Netherlands, where they made the farmers quit using nitrogen fertilizer, nationalized half their land, told them to get rid of half their livestock. They've done the same thing in Ireland. It could happen here. We're well on our way, but people need to wake up and stop this Biden 30 by 30 agenda, and that's to idle 30% of our land before the year 2030. That's only phase one. Phase two is 50-50. If you idle 30% of our land, that's larger than the Louisiana Purchase by several million acres. So it's a sizable block of land. What that means is, of course, as the Agriculture Commission, that means has a huge effect on agriculture production, but it also affects oil production, gas production, mining, timber, and the list goes on and on. And it affects construction and expansion and high-speed rail and pipelines and transmission lines and all of the above. So it has a huge effect. I think this is as dangerous as our open southern border, and people just need to wake up to it and latch on to it. We've got to stop. We've got to mobilize and stop this.
So what would you say to somebody on the fence about watching the documentary?
I said, you need to see it, you need to share it, you need to take your family and friends out to see it. No farmers, no food. And it's really a global agenda. They want to reduce world population so they can control the population. And the way you do that is controlling the amount of food.
So why do you think the Epoch Times chose this topic specifically?
A very wise organization. They care about the future of the human race.
So I'm here with Margaret, and she actually invited us to come to present our film. Why did you invite the Epoch Times to release No Farmers, No Food here?
Well, first off, because it's so important you guys are covering this information, and we're just really excited that this is something that you guys have dug into. It's such a story, and most people don't even know that this is happening across the country and across the world. And so, I mean, we were very excited that a news outlet like yours would take a deep dive into this issue. So it was a very easy invitation for us to ask you guys to be a part of this. We're very pleased you're here.
Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about Stop 30 by 30 Summit?
So the 30 by 30 agenda is an international agenda that President Biden initiated in America in 6 days after he took office. But it's an international agenda. So in the Netherlands, you know it as Natura 2000. It's an agenda that's been implemented internationally and just in 2021 began getting its foothold here in America with President Biden. So this is a plan to permanently protect 30% of the world's land and ocean by 2030. It's a massive taking. It's a massive taking of land internationally. And it's not about conservation, it's about control. Because if they control the land, they control our food, as you have certainly found out in the documentary as you did this. And if they control our land and food, they control the people. And that is something that, as an American, is offensive. Because we were established with the understanding that the individual had individual rights and the ability to own their own property. And so this 30 by 30 agenda is an assault on Americans.
So what about the people who are sitting behind the scenes and they see this documentary, they see the title, they see No Farmers, No Food, Will You Eat the Bugs? I mean, there probably a lot of things are going through their head, right? I'm wondering, what can you say to people after watching the film that motivates them to take a look at it, even if they're not farmers? We're talking about regular consumers. Why is this important to them?
Well, number one, because it directly affects what people are going to be able to eat. And we take that in America as a luxury because our food system has been so good. It's based on capitalism and private property rights, and so there's no federal or collectivist control of what we can and can't do with our food. When that's taken away and we are given limited choices where now we can only eat meat on some days, as is already occurring in some cities, or they're trying to push it in some cities, and we're going to be forced to eat bugs. That's a personal decision. Nobody has the right to tell somebody what they can and can't eat. That's a personal decision. And so this is not a political issue. It's a personal issue that everybody needs to get interested in and help us retain the freedoms of Americans to make these choices.